老师们，大家好，欢迎来到全美中小学中文教师协会的热点谈节目。今天是2024年4月20日。那今天呢，非常高兴请来了我们的老朋友Meredith White 白若梅老师来为大家介绍 AI 工具在外语教学课堂里的应用。那在白老师开始讲座之前呢，我们想跟各位老师说，首先欢迎老师来到我们的节目。CLASS 就是一个中文老师的大家庭，所以欢迎加入 CLASS 的会员，让我们大家一起携手同行同行，引领中文教学。那这里呢是 CLASS 的网站。如果您有任何问题，特别是有关会员方面的问题，请送您的 email 到下面的这个电子邮箱。也特别想介绍一下 CLASS 的几个有名的王牌的这个项目。一个呢是全美中文荣誉学会的 National Chinese Honor Society（NCHS），这个是 CLASS 为高中9到12年级的学生设立的项目，目的是鼓励他们积极投入中文学习，并且回馈社区。那与此同时呢，想让大家知道，我们也有一个针对5到8年级学生的项目，叫做的National Chinese Junior Scholars（NCJS）。那这个项目是为了让小年龄的孩子们尽早的投入到中文学习当中来。那而且持续不断的努力提高他们的这个中文水平，也为了扩大我们中文项目的影响而设立的。这里呢是 CLASS 为广大老师和同学设立的奖项以及各种赛事。那老师们可以看到，我们的奖项包括终身成就奖、全美优秀中文教师奖、姚道中优秀新教师奖、叶金会纪念奖学金、推动中文教学奖以及中文教学服务奖。那我们关于这些奖项的细节会陆陆续续发送给我们的会员老师，请大家关注。那在右边呢是我们年度国家级赛事的一览表。那我们除了有演讲比赛、写作大赛、海报设计大赛，还有中文才艺大赛，也敬请老师们关注。这里是 CLASS 的社交媒体上面的各种消息，所以请老师们可以在脸书，可以在 Twitter，然后也可以在Instagram 以及我们的特别要讲的是我们在 YouTube 上的 channel。这个 channel 是在疫情期间2020年的3月开办的，那到现在4年多的时间，已经有来自全世界2300名会员参加。那大家在一起交流，我们携手共行。那下面呢，隆重为大家介绍今晚的嘉宾 Meredith White 白若梅老师。那老师们可能很多都听到过白老师的名字，他是在田纳西和乔治亚2州教授西班牙文很多年。那他的这个教学的重点是在 novice level 的这个学生。我想老师们如果去参加各种会议，一定会有听到过他的报告，听到过他的名字。那从2023学年开始呢，白老师担当了一个新的任务，就是做这个 Instructional Technology Support 在他的学校。所以老师们从这个职务的变化中就能看出白老师的科技方面的能力超群。那我想白老师我知道也曾经拿到过全州的这个最佳外语教师年度奖。所以呢，我想我们大家对白老师表示欢迎。我们这样做好不好？请老师们在 chat 里面打上用中文也行，英文也行，可以打上白老师好。然后我们等一下，我数10，我们一起把我们对白老师的欢迎的这个简短的祝福发出去，好不好？老师们在 chat 里面可以打中文，可以打英文，可以写 Hello Meredith， 或者是 Welcome Meredith， 或者是白老师好，都可以。So Meredith, we're going to do a waterfall in the chat with all the welcoming messages to you, either in English or in Chinese. Okay, I'm going to count for 10 and let's send it out together. Okay? 10、9、 8、7、6、5、4、3、2、1，来发送。Okay. Okay. I'm going to pass the I'm going to pass the microphone to Meredith, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Oh, Ying, you're amazing. How, like, you're so good. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, yay, ni hao, everybody. Now, Ying, do I change it when it's like a group? Is Ying like ni hao is okay to a group as well?
你们好。
Ah, ni men hao.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, fancy. Fancy, fancy. Well, 谢谢 for introducing me. That's so nice. Oh my goodness, this is so nice. So class is always always so nice and always so classy, right? As we say in English. I'm going to share my screen here for a second. And once I get that, give me 1 second, but I put the link in the chat just so everybody has it. And hold on. And then I added class to my picture here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Give me 1 second. Oops, hold on. We're going to see what happens here. Let's see. Okay, can you see my screen? Yes, right? Okay, perfect. My screen is so weird because I have two and they're like not the same. So it's always kind of a game. So we'll just see what happens here. Yay. Well, hello everybody. Ying is so kind and always so generous in her words and what she says. So it's so nice to see. And I see some familiar names too. So I know that we have spent some time together before, which is so exciting. And now I'm sad I don't speak Chinese and I can't do this in Chinese because I think professional development in the shared language is also really, really cool. But I'll speak in English, and then one of these days I will learn more Chinese. Yang, you'll teach me. Mi hermana, teach me, right? We'll do Spanish and Chinese and English. So happy Saturday, everybody. I hope that you can see my screen and you can also see my captions at the bottom because I know that I talk really quickly in English, in Spanish, probably in Chinese if I knew more. I'm just a fast talker. So hopefully you can see all the things. And what I did was I put the direct link into the chat twice so that you can see that as well. Please take everything. Take everything that you see. It's yours. It's like shareable. Do whatever you need to do with those. This is a lot of these tools are a collaboration with Claudia Elliott. So if you know Claudia Elliott, she is fabulous. And she is in Florida. So she is really close to me. I am in Atlanta, Georgia. So really close to California, Yang, right? Just outside of California in Georgia, the other coast. So the link should be, like I said, a couple of places in the chat, and I just put it in again as well. You should be able to click that and then open up the slides. Some are hidden and some are, there. It's take them all. It's no problem. The ones that are hidden, it's totally fine. They're just hidden because, they've changed and I've hidden them. So if you're not familiar with where I am, as you can see on my screen, I am in Gwinnett County Public Schools. That is in Atlanta, and it is very big. So we have about 150 schools, 185,000 students, about 20,000 employees, and 1 million people. So I am surrounded by all of those people, all of those places, all of those things. So Atlanta itself has about 7 million people. And I am, right, just a casual, 7 million, no big deal. So many people. And I am northeast of Atlanta, in Georgia, where we have only 1 million. So we are small compared to the rest of Atlanta. But I say that because I am accustomed to big classes, a lot of people, just all the things all the time. So if my context is different, you might have a smaller school or a smaller situation, and we might have different, looking classrooms and situations, but it doesn't matter. These tools will be hopefully helpful regardless of setting and situation. So that's a little bit about me. So when you come to Gwinnett County, and Ying, when you come to, and Sarah, when you come, and Na, if she could be here tonight, when you come to Atlanta, now you have a place to stay, and you have I have like a little tour guide. I'll just drive you around because that's my job, right? I will bring you around and you will see Atlanta. So anytime any of you come to Atlanta, call me, because I will tell you where to go and where all the fun stuff is. So we're going to look at AI in the world language classroom, and AI is a lot, right? Generative artificial intelligence is a lot to think about, and there are a lot of tools. So we're going to be a little bit specific. We're going to look at a few specifically, but also think about and reflect on ways that we can use these tools for good and not for evil, right? Like superheroes, for good and not for evil. A lot of our students are using them for evil. They're using them to write essays and to do certain things. And we're going to look at the teacher side of things, and like the adult side of things. So at the link in the chat, you can see, I'll put it one more time. I'll put it a few more times, I'm sure. But I'm going to paste it one more time. There it is. So you have these slides. Again, please take any resources that are helpful, save them, copy them, whatever you need. And then within there are some more linked resources as well. So take whatever you need to take. I asked AI what the definition of AI is. And I thought that was kind of funny, like asking the robot what the robot is, right? Like you're asking your Alexa, what are you? And seeing what they say. So artificial intelligence said that artificial intelligence is the ability of machines to think and learn and act and basically mimic human behavior, which we know that. We've used artificial intelligence for a long time. We have dishwashers, we have washing machines, we have all of the computers, like all of these things that pretend to be a human behavior, right? So like that is not unusual. And I thought the interesting part here was that it uses advanced technology to make human tasks more efficient, because I do love efficient. And Yang, I think you and I are similar in that we're competitive, and we like, like hurry up, right? Like fast, productive, efficient, that's what I really, really appreciate for my own like workflow is I want to get it done. I want to finish things I need to do and then, be done with it. So I think that's really, really important, is the efficiency piece. I also then looked at the timeline of artificial intelligence. And again, this goes back, as you can see, nearly 100 years. For about 90 years, at least here in the United States, we've been really playing with all of the different ways to mimic human person behavior. Again, washing machine, dishwasher, all of those things. And then you look at the different situations like World War II, where we needed to mimic different behaviors, and computers started really becoming prevalent. And then about 40 years ago in the 80s, then computers came on the scene, and those are really generative those are artificial intelligence to a degree, but now we're seeing all of this generative artificial intelligence that is creating content. And that is a lot to keep up with. Here in the US, if you grew up here or if you saw cartoons about 30 years ago, you saw Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry is a very, very American cartoon. And I remember this particular episode where like, oh, Tom is like, oh, sad. And he like gets his little, bag and goes away because he's been replaced. So I think the fear for a lot of people is that they're going to be replaced with artificial intelligence. So we have to think about that as teachers, as people in education. Are our jobs going away, right? What is happening? And what does this mean for how we do things? If students can just say, write me an essay in Chinese or in Spanish or in French or whatever language, well, then why bother? Like, why are we here? So we're going to look at some ways and some tools to use them for good, again, and not evil. Kind of, again, superhero for good, not evil, but also just some ways to get some help on the teacher end that might, make sense. Again, you have these slides, you can totally save these, you can make a copy, you can do whatever you want. These slides are yours. My slides are your slides. So please save it, make a copy, do whatever you want with these. If it helps too, to take them back to your department, please do. If you need to show other people some certain websites or whatever it is you want to do, if that makes it easier, please feel free. These are totally yours. A couple of limitations when it comes to AI, remembering that you're the expert. I have asked AI a couple of things recently. And one of them was about Henry VIII's wives. So a king, Henry VIII, looking at his wives, and AI gave me mostly correct information, but a little bit wrong because one of Henry VIII, the king, one of his wives is named Jane Seymour. And there is a British actress named Jane Seymour. So when I asked artificial intelligence, when I asked ChatGPT, one of the artificial intelligence tools, about Henry VIII's wives, one of the things it said was Jane Seymour, and then gave the actress's information. So I say that to say we have to be careful. We are ultimately the expert. She is still alive. She is a current actress. She is not one of Henry VIII's wives. That was, a couple hundred years ago. She's still here. That's the wrong Jane Seymour. But realizing that the information may be inaccurate culturally or grammatically, especially if it's, like a character-based language like Chinese or Arabic or any of those. Is it using the correct, register? Is it using the right like aspect of the language that we want? Sometimes it's just wrong. So realizing that we are the expert and information may not always be accurate. Sarah, I said the same thing. I was like, this is what our students just copy and paste and just go, here you go. And they don't realize she was born recently. She's only like 70. So this is like super recent, but there it was. Right. And I think sometimes students we know, right? We know that students just go, okay, done, click, 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 and goodbye. And they don't necessarily read it. So it's important to realize that the biases that are there, the stereotypes, the limitation, the just literally wrong information that's there can be super, super important. And students might not realize that mistake. And they might say, okay, yeah, that seems great. And they move on, but we know better. And then it's more obvious for us. I now do technology support at my school as well. And it's so interesting because other content areas that aren't world language are like, what? why would students, I mean, they're like so surprised. And the world language teachers are like, okay, thank you. Like we, we have been dealing with Google Translate, all of these different, like we know this for years. We've known this and we have been doing all of these things for years, like for so many years. And other content areas like science and math, computer, and just all of these different things are like, they are so surprised and they don't know what to do. So we have a little bit of, I think, ahead. We're a little bit of ahead of them. We have a little bit of an edge. The other thing you have to think about is it cheating, right? Like, how do we feel about cheating? Oh, and that's hard too. That might depend on age. That might depend on culture. That might depend on your school. Like, I know for me, I might be a little bit, oh, they cheated. Okay. What, Ying, I'm going to pretend that Ying is a student, because she's my friend. Ying, Ying, why? Ying is a cheater, right? I know.
Yes. Okay.
Surprise, right? So like, oh, Ying, you cheated on your essay. What are you going to do? I might be easy on that. She might be really like harsh about that. And she might say, no, 0 forever. Like that is it. And I might say, oh, Ying, you get another chance. Come on. Like, let's be nice. So it really, really is hard to figure out kind of what cheating is in general, and kind of how you feel about that, like how that feels in kind of your stomach, like what is cheating? Why is it upsetting? Why does it make you feel, mad, or kind of all of those things? Like, come on, students, just do the assignment without cheating or without AI. So I really like this graphic from Miriam Scott where she talks about ethical use versus unethical use, and looks at the differences between the two, where one is very obviously plagiarism and some other things might not be necessarily plagiarism. Maybe it was, the student used ChatGPT as like a thought partner, but maybe they used it just to get some ideas, or maybe they did the whole assignment in ChatGPT, which is obvious. We are so used to that. We are so used to advanced language, and it is like August and students don't know that much. And they're just like, boom, a whole thing in Spanish or French or Chinese. And you're like, okay, you don't know all that. Ying, like, don't pretend that you know all of that. Ying, you're just going to be my bad student. Okay. You're welcome. That's what you get. So it's interesting. And I like these graphics. Again, you can save these slides. You can do file, make a copy at the top. You can save your own copy, or you can just view them. It's totally up to you. But I really like these graphics from different teachers. And this one's from Matt Miller, who's a Spanish teacher as well. And he really puts it out there, like plagiarism versus cheating. Like, what is really taking ideas and what's just borrowing ideas and, putting a different spin on it, if that makes sense. So I just really like these graphics from him in his presentations recently. There's also just the feeling that if someone is determined enough, they are going to get around whatever it is that we put in. So if as teachers we say, okay, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this, and then students won't be able to cheat. A very determined student like Ying will be able to cheat, and she will, right? Like if she is so determined and so ready to cheat and just be done with it, she's going to. So there's a lot to think about in terms of that. Like a very determined person will figure out a way to get around it. And ultimately, I think we really need to look at how we are defining like how we feel about that. And you have to look at who you work with and like who you teach with, and figure out what you're doing as a team to get around that. Now, if you're the only French teacher or the only Spanish teacher or the only Chinese teacher on your team, which is super common, right? Like that is super, super common. My Chinese teacher colleague is the Chinese teacher, right? So she just needs to look at what the department is doing about cheating and then kind of figure out how she feels about that, because she's really the only one and she teaches all the levels. So knowing that students are going to get around whatever it is that we put out there for them to not get around, they're going to find a way. If anybody was a teenager and snuck out or did anything that their parents said not to, you understand, right? It's like, oh, yeah, it's hard, you know, and you just say, oh, okay, I won't do that. And then you do it anyway. I can think of a super cute boy that I dated, even though my parents said not to. I know, Yang, scandalized. And Brad was his name, and he was super cute, but my parents said no, but I dated him anyway. So a determined person is going to, you know, do the things. Another graphic from Matt Miller, which I think is really helpful. I love all of these ideas, especially number 9. Number 9 is really fun to me. So there's a great Spanish teacher in Massachusetts named Mike Travers, and he is, I think, on Twitter at I think he's at Travers Tweets or something like that. And he's so good. And one of the things he does like every Friday is his students type in with ChatGPT and they debate the bot. So like number 9 on the list there, they will say, okay, you know, and they'll ask like ChatGPT, the chat bot, something and see what it says back. And they'll see if their response can be more advanced than the robots, which I think is super fun. So they kind of debate the bot, and he calls it beat the bot, which I think is cool. So these are just, again, just some fun, just some things to do, like anticipate the response. So he kind of does 9 and 14 together. Like, what do you think ChatGPT is going to say? And if you have some language pieces that are advanced, that's what students start to use, is if you say, however, blah, 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 and they are maybe like in Spanish 1 or French 1 or Chinese 1 or Arabic 1, they'll like, however is kind of advanced. It's a level up, you know, to say blah, 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 however, and then to say some other things. So they'll say things that they think the ChatGPT, the chat bot, is going to say, which then forces them to level up and to advance their language, which is fun. So if you want to save that, I love this graphic. And I think this is just a fabulous graphic. Another thing, and I'm going to expand this here. My mouse is going crazy. There we go. Another thing to think about is being able to generate prompts. Now, if our prompts are, and I'm going to say this, and this might be controversial, but if our prompts are like not super authentic, if it's just, you know, like if we're looking for things that are just information based, like multiple choice questions, or I am totally here for multiple choice questions, right? There's no problem. There is no shame in that game. Multiple choice questions are no problem. But if that's all we ever do with students, that can be a little bit problematic. And so when we look at students and different prompts, what do you like to eat? What do you like to wear? Why do you like to eat that? And I'm thinking of Ying too in California, like what kind of weather do you like? What sports do you like? What's your favorite team? My students might say, oh, our favorite baseball team is the Braves, the Atlanta Braves, because they're amazing. But your students might say, oh, our favorite team is, you know, the Los Angeles Dodgers, like whatever, right? So different things that are applicable to students and are authentic, that really for prompts is super important. If our prompts are not very authentic and not very exciting, it's going to give us the same not authentic, not exciting stuff. I wish it didn't. I wish it gave us like better than we were things, but it's kind of one of those things of it gives you what you give it. So that's something to think about. But it can also just be like your little teacher companion, your little like personal assistant that just sits here on your shoulder and helps you with certain tasks. So things to think about. Also, and we will demonstrate this in a second, I will do some demo here. Also like being clear and specific with the task. What do you want it to do? I recently was told, and I know Sarah's like, I know the different states that different people are in. I grew up in the Midwest, and in the Midwest, usually most people are very polite. And I was told recently to be clear and specific, but not to be polite with ChatGPT and with the different AI like websites and robots. I was told to not be so like, don't say please, don't say thank you. That's really hard for me. I'm like, I was raised to say please, to say thank you, all of the above. But you need to be clear and specific. You need to identify your audience, say exactly what you want. And then also look at the target vocabulary, look at what you want it to do, look at what you want it to give, and go from there. So if you want it to be specifically a certain kind of level and a certain topic, we need to go directly, specifically into there. There's also the question of authentic resources. So I put this in here as well, because if you're not familiar with the TEL project, I'll put it in the chat here as well. The TEL project is fabulous and it's linked on here, but hopefully I will get this link right. Ooh, let me know, Sarah, you're in or somebody, if it's not, but it's a really easy Googleable, easy to Google website. And the TEL project is Teacher Effectiveness for Language Learning. So the TEL project is a great framework for just Disney World wonderful language teaching. Specifically, they mention authentic resources in a couple of places. So the TEL project breaks it down. What's really nice too is, I don't know if you all are like me, but my administrators do not speak other languages, and my administrators do not know what happens in a language class, and they have no idea. So they don't know what they're looking at. They might come into Chinese, French, Spanish, Japanese, Korean, and they're just like sitting there uncomfortably and confused, right? So the TEL framework is really nice because it has a whole framework for observations for all of these different aspects of language learning, and it's fabulous. Learning experience is one of them, and you can see right here, it brings out authentic materials. So that's something that can be really hard with AI is authentic materials. Like, what do we do now? What is authentic? Who knows? And that's something that we'll look at with some of these tools too. It also brings in different resources. So the TEL framework also has, so these are two different domains. One is learning experience and one is learner tools. There are 9 total, 8 or 9. And both of these specifically talk about resources, but now with ChatGPT and all these different AI models, what do we do? Where do we find these resources? And then what's authentic, what's not authentic? How do we find, like, what do we do with all of this? So I link these on here in case you're interested, so you can click directly on these screenshots in the slides. And I wanted to pull out too, like what ACTFL says. So I know we've got an ACTFL Teacher of the Year on the, I just wanted to see Yang, like, I just wanted to see you blush, Yang. So ACTFL, I always think of like space, right? We're all like in little rocket ships, and ACTFL is like the mothership, and ACTFL tells us like what's important, what do we do? And ACTFL also talks about authentic text, but now with generative AI, it's like, what's authentic? Whose work is whose work, right? So I just wanted to put that in there just to think about like, interesting. What are we saying about all these things? One of my favorite websites, and I'll put this in the chat as well, which is kind of like artificial intelligence, is ifaketextmessage.com. And I know this is such a silly website, but I have said this in class webinars before, but I will put it here again because I just love it. There is something so funny about watching students read your text message and you have created a whole text message. So again, like mimicking human behavior. This isn't generative AI. I typed all this, but could I go to ChatGPT and get a conversation in Chinese or in Spanish or in French and be able to like generate that into a conversation that I can then put into ifaketextmessage.com? Absolutely. Use the robots to help other robots, right? Like that's what they're there for. They're robots. They're here to help us. This is Nikki Jam. This is one of my favorite musical artists. And I always tell my students that we are romantically involved. And in my mind, we are, right? Don't tell my husband, but it's pretty serious, guys. So listen. So Nikki, I'm just laughing at Yang. I know. Don't listen. Don't judge. But in the text, he's like, "Oh, hello. You are," and he's like complimenting me, and I'm like, "Well, of course, Nikki." And then I'm complimenting him. So iFake text message is really nice to be able to create text messages between people that maybe you didn't have to create the conversation for because you asked ChatGPT or you asked a different generative AI tool, right? Really, really nice. There's another tool called, well, let me ignore that. The other thing that's nice is being able to use different authentic resources like infographics, all those kind of things, other authentic resources. And this is Leslie Grand. So you can see, if you can see at the top there, and I'll put it in the chat as well. Leslie Grand is amazing. And she has Pinterest boards for all different languages, all different topics. So if you're looking for things like, okay, I want to use this, I don't have any questions to do with it. Like I want to put this video or this infographic or this picture or whatever it is, you can put it into ChatGPT or something similar and generate some questions. So she has tons of stuff. And here we are with CLASS. She has lots of resources in Chinese, and they're just based by topic. So when you look at the different topics, you can see what she has in Chinese, in Spanish, in French. All the languages are together, which is kind of a lot to look at, but it's really cool. And so she's got a great Pinterest collection of all those different resources. So just, again, getting you to think of like, okay, sure, generative AI, now what, right? Like, what am I supposed to do with it? Then I'm going to skip these two just because, okay, not exciting. They're fine. Yay. So let's look at the first tool, right? The first tool, which is probably the most popular one, and all of these, you'll see my little cursor there moves from an arrow to a hand. So the first one is ChatGPT. ChatGPT, I have version 3.5 and 4.0. You can tell at the top when it's thinking. There we go. There it is. So 3.5 is here, and 4.0 is the one that's paid. So that's the one that costs money. Claudia Elliott, if you know Claudia Elliott, she is fabulous out of Florida. I mentioned her before. She and I collaborate on a lot of AI things together. She pays for 4 and says that it's fantastic. I do not, so that's just a difference between the two of us. But I might say, I need, and now, Yang, this is where I'm going to like totally use your face as like a reaction to see if this is okay. I'm going to say, make a lesson about food in Mandarin. Should I capitalize Mandarin? Yeah, right? I've always seen it. Okay, good. I'm going to say novice level, present tense, because sometimes ChatGPT is tricky and suddenly it'll say, oh yeah, this is basic, but it puts it like in all these different tenses, which is really confusing. So I'm going to say present, make a lesson about food, like make a lesson plan about food and novice level for Chinese 1 students. Okay, this is not super specific, but we're going to see what happens. And I'm not saying please, because if I say please, the results are different and we're not being polite. So don't be polite. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm going to go back up here. So how great is this for new teachers, beginning teachers, where I didn't know what I was doing. My beginning teaching was like page 11 in the textbook, and then tomorrow, page 12. And then what comes after page 12? Page 13, right? Like it was not very sexy. My early teaching was not good. And so how nice is this too with now here are some objectives. Here are the materials, duration, procedure, etc. Is this even remotely correct? This is where I need this is where the accuracy comes in too. Because I can tell it in Spanish, but not in Chinese. I hope so. I hope it's clean. Not bad. Okay. Interesting. And you can always modify, right? It's a nice thought partner. You go, oh, okay. Thank you. Yes. And then it's like, thank you. I will change this. Goodbye. Right. So that's kind of nice too. You've got a little grammar explanation. Ooh, this is exciting. I'm dying to pronounce this, but I will do it wrong. Okay. So I don't want to, I don't want to embarrass myself. That would be not how, right? Like, ni hao. Yeah. How is good. That would be not how. So I will not do that. Yes, Li Chang, you can totally say, now align that with the actful standards and can-do statements. And remember, don't say please, don't be nice. You have to like don't be nice. Don't be nice to the robot. So we're going to go back up here, give it a second. It's thinking super, super hard. Da, 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 da. Okay, so now it's taken actful standards. Amazing. And again, it's talking to the whole internet. So you have to, like, it'll know what the actful standards are, but it will also sometimes be wrong, but like usually it's right. So you check it, right? But these look good. And you've got 3 different modes: interpersonal, interpretive. Yeah, you've got the 3 modes. Then you've got some can-do statements. Identify and name common food items, right? That's a universal can-do statement. We do that in Spanish as well. Express likes and dislikes. Boop, that's it. Whatever comes after that, great, beautiful. And then engage in simple conversations. Ta-da, great. Whatever comes after that is fabulous. And so it just took that and then made it like aligned to those things. What's nice is, especially if you have to put your lesson plans somewhere, you may not do all these different things, but you might. But somebody might need to see exactly what you're doing. Great. I'll say like make 20 multiple choice questions about this. That is not specific, but we're going to see what it does anyway. Is any of this right, Yang? Oh my gosh, you're the only face I can say. If it says like, what is the Mandarin? Let me zoom in. What is the Mandarin Chinese word for food? Yeah. Is any of that like, okay. I believe you. I trust you. I don't even want to try you. Fun. Okay. So I'm going to play with those. I'm going to learn. So yeah, super fun. So you could obviously change these, but I love these example sentences for students. This is what they're doing. This is what they're doing all the time, is they're looking, in German, in Spanish, in French, in Chinese, in Arabic, whatever language they're learning, they're like, how do you say? And then they're, expanding so it's really interesting too, to see what it's telling them. And then you can tell what they're seeing, right? So you're like, interesting. I wonder if you got that from ChatGPT, especially if it's something so like, I'm going to say, now put that in Spanish, just so I can understand it. Oh no, it just puts the instructions in Spanish. It keeps the Chinese. Amazing. It's like, oh, okay, no problem. What a combination. This is super fun. Okay, so we're back to pasta. Yeah, don't like vegetables. That's incredible. That's really, really funny. It's like, okay, fine, I'll put it in Spanish, but not the Chinese parts. So that's funny. So you can see exactly what it is they're doing. which is kind of amusing, but also interesting to see what they're doing. That's not like Google Translate or what we've seen in the past, which we're used to. We're used to Google Translate. We're used to them knowing a word that we go, how did you say that word? Or how did you write that symbol? There's no way you know that, right? Like that is impossible. I don't even say that word, right? Like we are used to that. So that's so you can do that. Now I can say also like put the important vocabulary in a table. Now this is going to be really tricky because I don't know any of these things. Ooh, but it has the English equivalent. Okay, so maybe it's given me like some really common things that are like rice, fruits, vegetables. I don't like, or I dislike, like noodles, fish, meat, bread. Those are pretty common, right? So maybe depending on if those are right, this is really great because this can just be like right click copy. And now you can put it in a document or in an email and you're like, poof, there's the vocabulary list, whatever. I can say, write a short story using these same words with a dialogue. And now it might give me, okay, well, and now I'm out of my league. I don't know what any of this. Well, darn. I hope this is right. And I hope it's appropriate. Yes, the format of the table should not change when you copy and paste it. So Lee, I will show you here. This is one of my favorite shortcuts. If you're already in Google, just do docs.new. It will open a new document. You don't have to go to like your Google Drive and do all that. Just do docs.new. Look at that. It's a beautiful thing. If you want a new slideshow, slides.new, ta-da, amazing. So I'm going to paste that and you can see there's that table. Hopefully that's accurate. I don't know. Those seem like words that mean other words. But there you go. So like in a Google Doc, it pastes really nicely. Yeah, the formatting is really nice. You're so welcome. Yeah, the tellproject.org will say it's not safe. I promise it's safe. And I think they're working on like moving it someplace else, but if you click advanced to site, it will come up, or you can Google it and look at the images too. That's also handy. So I don't know about this story because it's all in Chinese, but a trip to the market, and there you go. And it looks like dialogue. So you've got, different like saying back and forth, different things. And I might say like, now create a fill in the blank about this story. Oops, I meant story, but whatever. So there you go. So you can just keep going. Either have ChatGPT create the dialogue or have, yes, like continuously with the same content. Exactly, Jing Jing. Like you can just keep going and it'll say, okay, no problem. And then I'll say, create, like whatever. I could just keep going, and it will keep going with the same, whatever you have. And it's almost like a personal assistant that you say, now do this, now do this, now do this. And they just keep doing the tasks, right? So it's really, really cool. What's over here is really nice is on the left. So you can see I've done a Latin American kitchen. Cocina is the word for like kitchen or cooking. That's my most recent one in the previous 30 days. I can also rename this. So I can say rename, and I might say Chinese food story, because by the end, it's not really a story, but by the end we got a dialogue. So I might say create a story with this dialogue that includes, I'm going to very much go outside of my abilities here and my knowledge. That includes food in, oh gosh. Let's see. Let's create a story with this dialogue. Let's just do that. Create a story with this dialogue. Oh, and there's a translation. That's really nice. So you could, I hope that's right. I hope it's accurate and not super inappropriate. And then you're like, that's not what it says. But you could use different things with this, that said, and then like create questions, create different things. So if you look at stories or different dialogues or even cultural parts, look at different cities, food in like different places, that can be super cool. ChatGPT is going to pull from the whole internet, but sometimes it's wrong. So like if I were to do this and to pick a city, in China that I haven't been to, that would probably, I wouldn't know. Like, and I would go, okay, great. And it's like probably not accurate, right? So we have to be careful. The difference between 3.5 and 4.0. So 4.0 can generate images. And you could say, I need, let's see, like I'll say, generate a picture of this dialogue. And you'll see what happens. It'll say, girl, you need to pay, right? Yeah. Nope, thank you. It'll say, unless you want it, like I can help you create the illustration. And it'll tell me what's going on. But it can't generate images directly. ChatGPT 4.0 absolutely can. So it can make pictures. It can do just different things, and like I think export in different ways. So she says it's totally worth it. I haven't gotten into it yet, but I'm just at 3.5. I'm not at 4.0 yet. And then here's like the illustration. So it does its best, right? So that's one tool that's really, really cool. Whoops, I clicked on the clickable part. Microsoft Copilot. Now this is cool. What I did was, and if you can see this, again, you have these slides so you can hopefully see a little piece of it. And it's very small in the screenshot, but seeable if you've got the slides, and I'll put that back in the chat as well. I asked it in Spanish. I had a infographic about addictions to social media, because many of our students are like on social media all the time, right? All day, every day. So I had an infographic, and I used Microsoft Copilot, which is in Microsoft. So if I say Microsoft Copilot, and I just look at me using the robots to find other robots, I'm Googling Microsoft. Oh my goodness. I'm surprised my Google doesn't say what? Unbelievable. So if you've got a Microsoft account, we do Microsoft for our email at work. Copilot is very similar to ChatGPT, but it's going to also create images. So I can say, create an image of, it's probably going to make me sign in. Let's see what happens. Now, here's what's weird is you can sign into Microsoft with a Google account, which I think is really strange. And now my Google like little chat bot just like said, did you hear it? It was like, brink, hello, like my little like at home Google thing, which is super weird. It suddenly like came on and was talking. So it's going to ask for and it's doing all the things. Okay. Let me see. bit.ly/ it's interesting. Do an I. Let's make sure that I is not an L at the end there. Oh, language is misspelled. I see it now. So do, Lucy, I just saw your link in there. Yeah. Double check that the A and the U, switch them. So do a U and then an A, and then it should come up, and it should look just like that. It should be like, ta-da, and it'll be loading and all the things. So anyway, Microsoft will usually make you log in, which is annoying, but you can also log in with a Google account, and you can say things like you just did with ChatGPT, like I need create a story in Chinese about weather in 150 words. And it will say, no problem. Now, is it culturally super authentic? Probably not, but maybe, right? Like, I don't know. And so depending on your perspective, this is so many symbols. And I hope it's not inappropriate. I will never know until you tell me, but it looks okay, right? So you can say, now I might say, continue. Yep. Great. And I'm going to say, great, create, 10, let's see, create 2 open-ended questions about that. What it's going to say. Oh, interesting. Okay. So it's doing them in English, and that's totally up to you. Questions in the language or in English, totally your perspective, right? There's benefits to both of those things. And sometimes we know how students are. Sometimes they just find a word and they match it up and they answer it. And we think they understand, but they don't. They just found the words and played like a matching game. So those questions in English might not be the worst things. I'm going to say, put that in Mandarin. And then you've also got the questions, and who knows, right? Like, I don't know looking at that, but You could obviously edit those and then make those comprehensible to your students and that kind of thing. So you could keep going, again, kind of like we said before, you could keep going in the same workflow. And then I might say, make a table with vocabulary for that. Sure. Great. Yay. And I don't know if any of that is accurate, but it hopefully is. And you could go from there. And then the formatting is, that's like literally every word. So you have to be careful. Sometimes it'll just keep going, which is great, but that's what students are doing, right? They're looking for different ways, different things. And if they can just copy paste this, or, ooh, interesting, Eugen, that's so interesting. If you can just do this and then paste it into a document, well, then why, make them fill in every single word? I totally used to do that. I used to say, here's your vocabulary. Now we're going to write in every blank word. They can just like take a picture of it or type it in and say, here you go, right? So it kind of forces us to say, what are we really doing with this vocabulary? Again, I come back to the authentic resources and the example here of Microsoft Copilot, where I can add, if you see here, like if you zoom in, this little guy, add an image, there it is for your authentic resource. So you can say, here is an infographic. Here's an authentic resource. Create 10 questions for this. Now, if I say the example, which is the example I gave here in Spanish, if the example is addicted to social media, which is what the little like infographic says, I said, create open-ended questions in novice level Spanish to check comprehension on this infographic. And it gave me some. So if you have different images that you want to use, you can put them in Microsoft Copilot and say, hey, help me out here. I need some questions, which is really, really cool. And it will also, once you're logged in, once it'll let me log in, you can also create images in Microsoft Copilot. You can say, I need a family eating dinner in like a comic book style or whatever. And it'll create that, which is really cool. So think of those big companies, Microsoft and Google both have the ability to do all those. And they are working really hard and really quickly to make sure that they are staying relevant and staying on top of those. I said, draw a Dali, which is one of my favorite sort of historical figures. He had great artist style. Draw a Dali style picture of students all sitting on Chromebooks in a classroom, because, oh my goodness, our students all have Chromebooks, and sometimes it's like just madness, right? They're just sitting there and it's, they're like on the computer, just doing those kind of tasks. And look at these pictures. I mean, this is kind of intense. I don't know. I am from here and I have always taught here. And it's just, this looks like, to me, like if you can see this person, like I'm going to do, hold on, let's go back. Hold on. I'm going to get this little guy out of here and do edit. Okay. I'm going to scroll down here. If you look at this person right in the middle, she just looks so sad to me. So there's the prompt, right? Have Copilot or like ChatGPT or whoever design, look at this one. Okay, here we go. Boop, 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 boop. Look at this one right here. Look at her. Doesn't she look so sad? That's the prompt, right? You've got a whole picture of this whole room of people on computers just doing computer stuff, and you're like, there's your thing in Chinese or Spanish or Arabic or French. How is she? How does she feel? How are all these people? These people are all very serious, but she just looks so sad and like frustrated, right? So it's super interesting to look at kind of the cultural components too of some of those things. Like, what is it that we're asking students to do? What are our expectations for them to say? And again, just that, that looks just super sad to me. Question Well is another great website. And I'll show you what it does here is if you are able to, so you can do some of the same types of things. you can say, I need a prompt to do this and this and this. What's cool is you can export it to different places. So if I say, sure, log me in, I'm going to use my personal login because my school doesn't yet let us log in with our school logins. But QuestionWell is another tool. I can say, get 5 multiple choice questions based on greetings in Chinese. And I'm going to say, yeah, that'd be great. No, never mind. I don't want any outcomes. The little robot's going to think for a second. And what's really cool about QuestionWell is then it exports to all these different places. So you can do to Canvas, if Canvas is your online system. You can say to Quizlet, now get ready. Wait, I hope this is accurate. Oh my goodness. And I hope this isn't like offensive. Don't cancel me. So what cultural values? So it's okay. Yay, Ying, I trust you. You're my, tú eres mi hermana, right? Like I trust you completely. What cultural values are reflected in Chinese greetings? Like, I love this. The answer is bolded, so you can see it's a little bit bolder if it's the right answer. And then we've got the language piece, obviously there. This would be great for early level, right? Like low, like Chinese 1, it's August, it's September, it's super early in the year. Now get ready because I'm about to blow your socks off. When I go here and click on the export button, look at all those options. This is the free version, and QuestionWell, I can export these to a Quizlet, to a Google form, to a Google slide, to a Microsoft form, to Socrative, to Canvas, to Kahoot, to Quiziz. All of these you can say, yeah, even to Schoology, yes. Like all of these you can go, boop, no problem. And I have not had an issue yet with the free version. So I don't pay for any of these. So I can say, yeah, let's make a Google form, select all, let's do it, give it a second to think, and then it will do the thing. So it's really, really cool. Now the little lightning bolt is going to mean the paid features, which we don't want to bother with lightning bolt then. So we can, these are all the paid things, but you can filter it by outcome. And then here's the essential questions. If you have to post lesson plans, these are really great for that, where you're like, thank you. I always forget something, but the robots don't forget things. So it's super, super nice and definitely a time saver. These also copy really nicely and you can share them. Whoops, let me hit close. You can print them. You can copy any of these and it's got the answer and all of the things. So QuestionWell, really, really cool. A couple just more with you. But again, you've got all of these slides as well. Twee is going to be really similar in that you can keep going. Here's the tricky part about Twee though, is it pretty much keeps it all in English. So it's for English teachers and it's for language arts. So if you want some, it'll like, it understands like other languages, but it will still give you back in English, which is so annoying. I will literally be typing the whole thing in Spanish and it's like, hey, great, all in English. I'm like, oh, okay. I just talked to you in Spanish. So I don't know. It's for language arts teachers, so it struggles, but not all the time. So it can do things in other languages. But if you do want some comprehension questions in English, you might want to use Twee. It's really nice. The other thing it does is for YouTube videos up to 5 minutes, it will give you a full transcript, which is really, really cool. So that's really, really nice. Magic School AI. And again, these are just various tools. So all of these at the top with like the pink stripe, these are different websites, different tools, not necessarily like computer applications, but different websites. Magic School AI is really, really cool. And this one is one that my school now has approved. So that's really fun. So my district is really strict on privacy and they have approved this one, which is cool. So that's exciting. And when I go, let's not sign in as my husband. We'll sign in as me. Oops. I clicked too fast. I got too click happy. There we go. We won't sign in as him. Get out of here. Okay. Gosh, boys, always getting in the way. But Magic School is very similar to Twee in that it has a bunch of different tools. And okay, well now it's not letting me. That's weird. Whatever. Anyway, and it's very similar. You can see like all of the different things it does. And it also, one of the things it does is like an email for, I wish you could see, boop, boop, boop. Let's see if this is one. Yeah. So like it's got a YouTube video summarizer, which is cool. So it'll summarize a whole YouTube video or do an email to like parents and families. And I know my friend Claudia feels self-conscious sometimes like about her English. So she'll say, oh, just put it in there, like tell me the words to say because English is so hard. So she will use that for emails home and different things like that, which is really cool. So Magic School is neat, but it's similar to ChatGPT. So again, just giving you some ideas. It'll also, lead check, absolutely. Like it'll differentiate if it will. Let me log in. I can show you here. Let's see what it says. If I do my school email, ooh, we're living dangerously. I feel like we're Googling in front of the class, right? Well, let's not do that. It's going to take me to the whole portal. It knows I have an account. Let me in. Anyway, you'll see all of that's weird. Okay, I'll do it in another window and I'll come back to it. But it's really cool in that all of the tools it has are neat and you don't have to interact with students necessarily. You can, but it's got like 40 different tools where you can like write an email, get a lesson plan, get different ideas for different things. And it's free for teachers. Don't let it charge you money because it's free for teachers. And there is a student version, which is really, really cool. That students, you can say, okay, the question, like it's only going to, students can only use these two things to complete their assignment. And then you can kind of control that. They join the class session. They don't need to make an account or anything like that, which is really cool. Yes. The free version is limited. Absolutely. So you get enough things, you get like plus for a couple of weeks, and then it's limited from that. But, a little bit of a time saver, something to explore. Microsoft Copilot, Google has its equivalent, which is Gemini. And what's really cool is once you enter something into Google Gemini, it will allow you to export it as like an email, as a Google document, as anything within the Google workspace, which is really cool. So that's also neat. So thinking of things like if you can be specific and you can say what language you want used, what exactly you want, you can really go and just keep working in the same like workflow, in the same task and say, okay, I want this, now make this, now make this. And you can keep going like kind of down the line, which is really, really cool. The last one I'm going to tell you about too is Brisk. Brisk is really cool. And it's Brisk Teaching. If you just look up Brisk Teaching, what it is like a little Google, Chrome add-on. So let me turn it on here. And what's cool is for language teachers, especially, I'm going to turn it on. And if I go to, I'm going to use a French newspaper here because this puts me out of my comfort zone and I don't know. Sure, I'll accept and continue. And I don't know like what any of this says because I teach Spanish, right? But if I'm looking at this particular website and then I'm going to click on this article that seems to be about Taiwan and Ukraine and TikTok and just literally everything. All of the news is in one article, right? I can use Brisk Teaching, which because I added it on, I can do here right on the little Brisk add-on. Once I sign in, and you'll see it'll say, what do you want to sign in with? And I'll say, I want to sign in as me. And then once I sign in, look at this. It's like, what do you want to create? Okay, I would like to create, and look at this. I can look at an article like from the target culture, from whichever aspect of the language I want to look at. Again, as a Spanish teacher, I've got 21 countries to choose from, right? And they're all different. So I can say, let's go ahead and make a quiz or a lesson plan or, a presentation. And here's a slideshow creator. So I'm going to say a quiz and I want it to be in English, let's say in Chinese. Ying, do I want simplified or traditional? Simplified, right? Okay, so I'm going to go simplified, either one. Okay, I'm going to go simplified. And 6th grade, I'm going to go lower. Sometimes it's weird because it's doing grade levels based on if you were educated in that grade in that place. So for like my 10th grade students, I pick like 2nd grade for level 1. So I'm going to pick like 3rd grade and I'm going to say, sure, I want to do it in a Google form. Look at this. New form, risk it. And for free, it'll say, okay, no problem, girl. What do you want? And it'll say, which Google account do you want? I've already agreed to all this before, but sure. Yeah. Again, yes. Think of it like the keys to your house, right? We give all these companies the keys to our house all the time. Google and Microsoft, they have the keys to my house. It's not a big deal. Look at this. Ta-da. Now I have no idea what this says. This is in French. We told it to say Chinese. It's not, but it doesn't matter, right? If it were in Chinese, it would do it in Chinese. Let's see if there's any Chinese there. No, all French, whatever. Doesn't matter. Yeah, absolutely. Li Chang, for sure. So like if you've got, go to that article or go to that website and just be like, here you go, make a quiz, make a whatever. Any of those authentic texts you find online, the little brisk little like add-on should show up and then you can go from there. Absolutely. Because that's the nice thing. So get the robots to talk to the other robots and get all of the websites that we use to work together, right? That's like what we want. We want them to all kind of play nicely together. So good. So you've got a couple other here. I just added these like a couple of days ago because I hadn't seen them, but people recommended them to me, but I don't know anything about them. So for that reason, I hid them. Perplexity, Tome, and what was the other one? No, just Perplexity and Tome. So that's our homework together is we need to like figure out what these do. These were just recommended to me. And I think Tome does some kind of like presentations, like it'll make AI presentations, and Perplexity can be like a chat bot that I think talks like back and forth. Now you can do that with any of the other previous ones too, like ChatGPT or Google Gemini or Microsoft Copilot. Your students, if they're able to type either like verbally or like symbols or whatever, they can also chat back and forth, which is really cool because it's like, what do you like to eat? I like to eat. And now they're like, they have someone to practice with in a language, which is really, really cool. But I added on also one last one. It's Goblin Tools, which is really fun. And that one was just made with specifically people with neuro divergent tendency, like, you know, kind of habits or mindsets in mind. And it only does those 6 things at the top. So if you feel like you're misreading an email or you think you don't know the tone of something, you can paste it in there and say, am I misreading the tone of this? And look at like that kind of thing. And it allows you to do that. So that's a fun one to explore. Johnny Mizos, somebody recommended also to me recently. I have not been able to explore it yet, but I would love to. And I'm super, super excited about it. That was specifically recommended to me a few days ago. So we have a lot to do, right? Like we have a lot of homework to explore. There are so many tools. There are so many cool things that are so overwhelming sometimes, but pick 1 or 2 and just try them in the next like few weeks. Like I said, my goal is like try one before May, right? It's April 20th. Just try one and see what you think. See what you like, especially if you're a native speaker of the language you teach. See what you think. If you're like, that doesn't sound right, and you can kind of edit it, but you can definitely see what students are doing and what students are searching. You can also say, hey, I only have noodles and broccoli and, whatever in my refrigerator. What can I cook? All of it, like ChatGPT, all of those can do that too. They have personal uses and they'll say, here you go, girl. Here are some recipes, no problem. And you're like, cute. So just test them out and look at definitely like differentiating leveled readings. If you have a story or something and you say, make this harder, like make this more complicated, make this easier, I need 3 different versions of this dialogue. Done. It will do it in 2 seconds, which is really, really nice. And we are creatively so tired right now that can be really, really useful. I'm going to put the link to the slides in the chat again. And I know we're opening it up to questions as well. I know I've seen them, but please let me know if I've missed anything, or if there's anything we want to like demonstrate or play around with.
Thank you,
Ooh,
Meredith.
video. Hi, Link. Okay, so video creation. There are some tools that can create videos. They're all paid. And I have not seen any that do them for free yet. And some of them are a little bit tricky because they're still like testing them out. So to be continued on the like creation video. But I think it's coming, which is a little bit scary. Totally. Okay, so Gina, I think that's what I'm going to go to Tome. Tome, yeah, you're welcome, Lucy. Tome will let you have like so many. Let's see. Hold on. Let's make sure we're doing the right thing. Yeah, we are. Okay. Tome is a presentation creator, and this was recommended by my friend recently. We're going to pick me and we're going to log in. Jing, you can ask ChatGPT any questions. Yeah, you can say like, I need, whatever questions, like absolutely. Which is really, really cool. So you can, like to write anything that needs to go like with like an article that you already have. So I'm going to say, this is not what it did before. So here's the other thing is, what's really funny, so they'll change all the time, right? We open up these tools and we're like, wait, come back. Where did it go? What was this? Where are the questions? I am going to say, okay, build up. This is not what Tome did when I logged in like a week ago, but here's one aspect of it. Okay, no, let's see. I want to let's see what it did. Okay, so this was off to the side. So okay, so I need make a create a presentation about, there it is. There's the paywall. So there's the pay thing, which is tricky, right? All of these are like, give me your money, which is tricky. And this is about the right price range. ChatGPT 4.0 is like $20 a month, I think, give or take. Again, Claudia Elliott says it's totally worth it. She loves it. She wouldn't change a thing. This is about the same, 16 a month, 20 a month for Tome. And you can build like different presentations. You can do all sorts of different things, which is cool. Now, some of the Google tools will say you can export them like to a Google site. For example, let's see if I say, yeah, Shumei, for sure. So if I say like, let me go back to ChatGPT too. Like, let's say create a simple, you want to be as specific as you can. So I'm going to say create a simple story in, I am not going to know what this says, and I really hope it's appropriate. Because if it's not, it's too late. About clothing trends and their likes and dislikes. Oops, dislikes. Keep it everything in the present tense and fewer than, let's say fewer than 200 words, because like otherwise it'll just do the whole thing. I really hope this is okay. Oh, look at that. Short and sweet. Interesting. Yeah, it's okay. Good. As long as it doesn't say swear words. And just like, okay, good. So then I can say, make that text more complex. Now, I don't know what this will do because I don't know what I'm looking at, but in Spanish and English, it makes it like, sometimes it'll change the tenses. It'll give more, it's okay. Yeah. It'll give more details. So it's really nice. I think as Sarah said in the chat before, like for a differentiator where you're like, I'm so creatively done this time of year, right? Like, what can I do? And then I might say like, make a fill in the blank let's see, create 10 fill in the blank questions for that text and a word bank. There you go. So I don't know if any of this is okay. Oh, interesting. It's like given choices for like every question. Well, anyway, there you go. Right. So you've got some options. Again, like a thought partner. Think of it like somebody to kind of bounce ideas off, especially if you're the only teacher at your school or like in your community. And you're like, well, I just collaborate with myself, so it can be nice to get different ideas. I think, yeah, like with the tenses, right, is super, super interesting. And then it's like, oh, this is going to be, I have no idea. So I don't know what any of this is anyway. But like if I say, now put all of that in the, how many past tenses are there? In Spanish, there's 2. Well, there's like 3, but ooh, let's see what happens. Oh, it's thinking really hard. It's like, okay, what do you want? Right. So yeah, that's okay. Interesting. So it might be, so it's something to play around with for sure and to experiment, especially because you are the expert, you know what you're looking at. And you know what it is. Yeah, like that you can tweak and that you can revise, but it's somewhere to start. Which is why it's so obvious when students use it because we're like, okay, you don't know those words, right? Like it's very super obvious. It's impacted my classroom in a couple of ways. One, yeah, Alan, like you just, or Shufen, like you just said, like rubrics, absolutely. It's a great rubric creator. And if I say like create a rubric in ChatGPT or Google, it'll keep going with my same thought. So I probably would do like a new chat up here. I would say, oh, let's do a new one. And then create a rubric based on the novice level standards for writing. Let's see what it does. So thinking about like different rubrics, like different criteria, different things you could do. Now this is ta-da. It's going to go based on what it thinks the internet is saying about actual, criterion or criteria, but it's still interesting and gives you some place to start. Can you imagine having this like when you first started teaching? I didn't know anything and I didn't have anyone. And this would have been really, really amazing. So it's definitely impacted our classrooms in my district in that way. And really looking at the tasks, like what is it that we're asking students to do? If they can just put it in ChatGPT and do it, how are we actually asking, like how authentic are the tasks that we're asking them to do? If they can just do it, if they can just put it in there and say, oh, okay, here's the answer. So really looking at like personalized question in the 3 modes, like especially interpersonally, like personalized questions, things that they can't just answer and say, oh, the answer is whatever. Things that they have to actually like use something for or use another person for, it can be really important. And I'm going to put an episode too for Lisa in the chat. I'm going to put a podcast episode that we recently talked about AI about. So hopefully that will be helpful as well, like looking at the different shifts. Episode 4 is the one that you want for sure.
Thank you so much, Meredith. I think you gave us so much to think. And I guess, it's good to know about those tools, but next step is how we can really use them wisely, to save time and to, make our teaching, the content richer, let's say richer, right? Thank you so much. Yes. And well, Meredith, I think is trying to find the podcast information. Thank you. There we are. Mm-hmm. That's the information. Can I share screen very quickly? Okay. And I think we don't really need the Q&A session because I think, Meredith, you have answered the questions while you were presenting. I know we have a lot of questions, but I'm pretty sure after we tried those tools you recommended, we can come back. Maybe we can invite you to come back again. And
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. So it's about 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, and we really appreciate all of you to spend about an hour and 30 minutes online with us. And definitely we want to show our deep appreciation to Meredith. So let's just type thank you or 谢谢 in the chat. Thank you so much. 谢谢de nada. Oh, you're right. This is just step one. And again, I think we're going to really think about how to make our life, teachers' life, easier using those tools. We all work so hard, and I'm pretty sure those AI tools can help us a lot to lessen the workload. Yeah. And 林兰老师, do you want to say a few words to close today's webinar?
谢谢。首先再次感谢咱们的白老师 ，Thank you so much, Meredith. You can see from the chat box how inspiring your talk has been. We definitely would love to have you back and maybe have even a more interactive session with our teachers once they try some of these tools. 各位老师，谢谢大家在星期六的晚上跟我们一起分享这个时间，也希望说这个 AI 能够让我们的中文教学更进一步，让我们的老师更能够 smart work smarter, not necessarily harder.
Yes. And we do have the recording, right? And we're going to upload it to CLASS YouTube channel. So stay tuned, please. 谢谢 Thank you.